a gargoyle. That's awesome. Oh, there's gargoyles at the top of the roof. Oh.
So I just put that in. Like that.
Pay attention now. Zoltar has a word of wisdom for you this day. He who laughs last thinks slowest. Stay alert, my friend, and laugh heartily and quickly. For a small fee, Zoltar will tell you more of his secrets, and wisdom is priceless.
Hi, Roland. And there's Cassie. I'm whispering. Cassie needs her phone because she's got to keep up to date with the TikToks.
Not TikToks, literally just up the.
Oh, well, it's not Elvis.
Okay, guys, here we go.
Okay, so we'll leave it there for a moment, and I want to tell you about the history of Waverly Hills. I'm sure many of you have heard it before, but hopefully I introduce you to a few new facts. So in 1910, the building you can see here was constructed. It had two sides to it, two pavilions on either side of the main building, and those pavilions held 20 patients each. The bigger building that you can see in the middle was mainly doctors' rooms, administration, procedure rooms, that sort of thing. That building then became, reached overflow actually, so they built another little building next to it in 1912 to house some more patients. But eventually they realised, we've got to build a new hospital. Things were getting pretty bad. So in 1924, plans were drawn up and they started construction on the new building. In 1926, August of 1926, the building was finished and open for business, so to speak, and remained in business as a tuberculosis hospital until 1961 when, tuberculosis was under control with medications, etc., and there was no more need to have a hospital that was solely looking after tuberculosis patients. And then in 1963, it became Woodhaven Geriatric Centre. So Waverly Hills was basically known as the premier TB hospital in the country because they had the best staff, doctors, nurses. Basically the best in the world were there helping to try to figure out how to cure this disease. While they were there working though, they had to stay at the hospital. They couldn't leave and go back into society, so to speak. So there were houses, nurses' quarters, doctors' quarters, everything. It was, Waverly Hill became a township really. It had quite a lot of buildings on it at the time. The property was huge. So apart from the fact that they weren't really able to go back into the township, that they had to live there on the property, the question then came, well, how do we provide all the food and everything we need? So they farmed their own food, they had their own cattle, and so that made it a very self-sufficient place to be. So this leads me to explaining what was on each floor of the hospital. So first floor had a gift shop or a little general store that the patients could go to. It had a library that the patients could utilise whenever they liked. It had a solarium and a couple of patient rooms, medical labs, that's where the labs were, the x-ray and dark room. There was one nurse's station. There was a barber shop, a dentist, and also obviously the north wing of the first floor was the access to the tunnel, or what now they refer to as the body chute. There was a small morgue as well, which you will see later in this episode, and that was mainly just a holding morgue until the morgue and crematorium could come and collect the bodies and take them off site. So now we're in the second floor. The second floor was the women's ward primarily, but also the north wing of the second floor contained the kitchen. The kitchen cooked up to 2,100 meals a day, and it also serviced the main dining area, which could hold up to 450 people at any given time. The bakery, of course, was there, as you can see. That's a picture of the dining room, the best I could find, unfortunately, but it was quite a huge dining room. They had a study hall also where people could go and continue to learn different things to help them when they get out of hospital. And of course the women's ward here that you can see. Nurses' stations, 2 of those, chapel. So now we go to the third floor. The third floor had a minor surgery room and a treatment room. It had a solarium, and it had the men's ward, of course. It had a kitchenette. It had a dining room or a little dinette room, 2 nurses' station, and the occupational therapy room. Now, the interesting thing about this was that the minor procedure rooms were utilised to do the pneumothorax procedure. That is where, as you can see here, the doctor takes a syringe and he basically injects air into the lung, into the cavity there, and it collapses the lung. And the theory that they had behind that was that it would give the lung time to heal. Unfortunately, years later, they realised that it didn't really do anything, but at least they were trying. Now, this also takes us along to the 4th floor, where the major surgery was performed. Major surgery, of course, would be the removal of ribs, the lung, a part of the lung, different things like that. It was also basically the recovery ward for surgery. Now we go to the 5th floor, the children's playground, intensive care. It was also known as the heliotherapy department back in the day. Behind those 2 nurses there, you'll see one of the wards. Each of those wards held up to 20 patients. And the idea was that you would wheel the patients out onto the tar part of the roof and they would receive their heliotherapy. Basically, sunshine and fresh air. The children's playground was also up there, and you can see there's mesh along the wall of the building to protect the children, protect them from falling off. And also that leads us to the rooms. Now, room 502 was the nurses' change rooms and lockers, etc., and a bathroom. Room 504 and 506 were the nurses' station and a small kitchenette. Now, I'm going to talk about the story, the alleged death of a nurse in front of room 502. I have my doubts about this story, and I will tell you why. The year that it was supposed to have happened was 1928. Now, this hospital in 1928 was fully functioning, very busy. The 5th floor housed patients that had meningitis, TB of the bone. Some of them, it had spread to different organs. That's what tuberculosis can do. Primarily hits the lung, but it can hit other organs in the body. So these patients, although very, very ill, they could still get about, still walk around. They weren't all bedridden. The problem I have is, firstly, being a busy ward, how did this nurse have the time to do what she did with the rope and not be seen preparing? She would have or should have had another nurse working with her at the time. And if not, remember, this was a very busy thoroughfare. When you would come up to the 5th floor in the elevator or using the stairs, you come out basically directly in front of room 502, 4 and 6. It was busy because there was also patients going backwards and forwards to their room. The nurses would have been there to care for the patients. Someone would have seen her preparing to do this. It wasn't an isolated, quiet place. It was a busy place. I also looked up the background to the story where they have the different theories. One theory is that she was pregnant and the doctor didn't like it, and in fact that she was murdered. Now I looked up where that story came from, and surprise, surprise, a 2010 blog that I found was a recounting of a story of a psychic who visited room 502 and was spoken to by a lady named Mary Hildenberg. Again, I've researched that name. I can find no such person who ever worked there. Having said that, records did get lost. Apparently Mary told this psychic the full story of the harrowing experience she suffered at the hands of the doctors and other men who forced her to be tied up, and they kicked the chair out from under her and blah blah blah. Anyway, that's where that story came from. The other story is just that she might have caught tuberculosis, and maybe that's why she did it. She didn't want to suffer the fate that she was seeing. I've looked for the name Mary Hillenberg. I cannot find it. I do believe this was a name that the psychic came up with. I've searched through all of the possible databases. I've searched through everything, newspaper archives, hospital records that are still existing. I can't find anything. So if there is proof of this and someone has proof of this, then it's been a long time coming.
Was that door closed?
So this is the second floor, isn't it?
Yeah, we are currently on the second floor. Yeah. Come on, door. We're currently on the second floor. That breeze feels so nice. It is nice. Pretty windy outside too. So it's gonna be some outside.
Well, not to mention outside is just here.
Yeah.
So when you walk,
It's an open air.
yeah, and then when you step out here, you're outside.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I heard it. So I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, it's with me. I was just saying that I thought it was really cool what he said about these being for the radio that they had, the Waverly Hills radio station that was up in the tower, and that the sick actually, like, so it was one of the first places that ever did that, and the electric beds, electric blankets. So I thought that was awesome. Invented just for here. And the music also that came out, the radio was just for here. It was the radio station for Waverly itself, and that was designed because when they were out here on their beds, it was boring. So they got to listen to some music and different broadcasts via headphones that were plugged into the wall. There is a tarp blowing, so, but it's a reasonably, the wind's sort of died down a little bit. It's not as windy as it was when we came out here earlier. But because most of the windows are covered up with tarp or plastic, yeah, when it's windy they go bang bang. No, there's no tarp down there. That's tarp. Oh. That's tarp. And I'll give you a look at the tarp so you understand what we're saying is making noise. So here on the windows, if you can see that, I'll go a bit closer. Plastic tarp. So that's on a lot of these windows, and of course, that's the noise it makes. So one must not jump to conclusions.
Oh no, now there's a lot of noise.
Oh, I think this is where they. Oh, it might be
I
further up.
heard something, a high pitched something, guys.
Me too.
Like back that way. Back that way.
Is that?
Did you hear that? Did you hear like a?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I heard. It sounded like a step.
No.
Let's just sit quiet for a second.
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything now.
No, but that was like a
Yeah.
yeah, I heard
higher
it.
pitch, like.
Yeah, it was like a bit of a moan. And I think with I think with the wind it can be very disorientating as well as to where the sound's coming from.
Mm-hmm. And with the
The echo.
nature of the location. That scared me. I looked through there and you see
Oh.
the other windows. I was like, what the? Little jump.
Can you shine your light in here a little bit? Mine's not. Just trying to see some more storage type area.
Yeah.
Oh, we're back to
We
the.
say go upstairs.
Yeah, that's all.
Keep on.
I really like the stairs from.
Yeah.
Ron?
Ooh.
That was me.
Yeah. You alright, Ron?
Oh,
Yeah, I did it.
the exact same thing.
Alright, so level 2 was for people who are doing pretty good. Level 3 is where the women stay.
Yeah, women. Was that someone's tummy or?
No, that's my foot.
Oh.
So level 3 was women, level
No.
4
Men.
was men,
Level-
and then 5 were the.
Really sick ones and mainly children.
Yeah. I know there was a period where this place was abandoned and broken into, hence all the graffiti and stuff.
Very
I would
disrespectful.
never have been able to come in this place, like as a teenager.
No.
And it's like, oh, you gotta go up to Waverly Hills and like drink some beer and spray paint the wall. Hell no. Hell no. And that was before it got cleaned up, so this place must have been
Oh, it must have been terrible.
I forgot to call ahead to the airport to let them know to not send planes up while we're investigating.
Yeah, how dare they? Oh, what's through this door?
I think it,
Oh, I think it's outside.
That's the fire escape.
Yeah, it's a fire escape. Now remembering, of course, beds were lined up along here. So as a nurse, you would have been walking only along here because the beds would have been out the front. And all of these open windows had like mesh on them, so they weren't open like this, they had mesh. Oh, and for anyone interested, there is 24/7 real live security guards here, keeping an eye on things with cameras on the outside of the building. It's alarmed. and there's always someone inside as well. And that way everyone that comes in to investigate, and even when there's no investigations, an aeroplane, there's, you know, everyone's safe. And this was like the visiting room, wasn't it, this one? So this is where family would come and visit. Social distancing was in force, but eventually they stopped the visiting because they realised that TB was airborne, and therefore people didn't get to visit with their loved ones until they either went home well, or unfortunately they never got to visit with their loved ones again.
There you go.
Keep up.
Same diggingly on my head.
I had that when we walked in with the boy. I swore I walked through a spider web, but it wasn't on my face. Sorry, I know.
No, I just keep my stuff in.
And I think it was, no, it was level 2. So it was probably just a spider web, but it felt, because there are spiders here, people, daddy long legs. So, you know, they all make webs. Right, so this was the men's.
Yeah. This was the men's level.
Men's level. So, gentlemen, nursing coming around. The doctor's with me.
So we are in the main operating room on the 4th floor. Ron over here is going to do sensory death. There's a lot of stories of this room, a lot of paranormal activity in terms of doors slamming, voices being heard, shadow figures, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I just want to show you guys this door here. I'm moving the door, guys. This door here, you can hear it makes a loud noise. See? But closes like a banshee. So you need to keep it pushed back there. Otherwise it does really close really easily past a certain point. So stories of that door slamming, but I can see if someone plays around with the door and gets it to that point on the floor where it's actually loose, I can see why it slams, because it just does. Are you a doctor?
More than that.
Are you a surgeon?
I need it.
What do you need?
Sally slap face.
Did you work with the kids?
I said so.
What did you say? What did you say? I think we might have had the 4th one.
You think?
Because wasn't the 4th floor
Men's. And
the forgotten ones?
Yes.
3rd floor.
oh,
Yeah.
do you think we got it back to
Second floor,
front?
Women and children.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
The second floor was women's. Third floor was men's.
Fourth
Forgotten.
floor, forgotten.
I thought the forgotten were the 5th floor.
No.
That's where the intensely sick were.
Oh, we got it wrong. Oh yeah,
It is getting colder.
but that's because we're getting higher. Keep up, Ronnie.
How you doing, man?
What was that? Oh, hang on, we're really... Just guys,
Loud stuff.
yeah, because there's the tarp at the end of that room that's really loud. Yeah, just to show guys that the tarps on the windows up here really bang hard again with the wind.
Oh no!
Oh, you just stepped on a little dead bird. Oh, don't worry, Jason.
Crunched. There's a bunch of Watch out!
Oh
You want to go over there? Don't film it.
no. No. Well, I've already filmed it, so it's okay. It's
That's
just
what we said.
what?
He's like, oh, baby.
How did they get in?
I saw birds flying in here. Like, not in this room, but in the building.
Yeah, so they've come down here and got stuck. Poor little, sorry little babies.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
This is a prop though, I think you said.
yeah. Well, I don't know.
What's that? Oh,
I think this is the original.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Oh, for the kids.
yeah. I'll get the photo and then we can sort of show people. But yeah, they had. Oh, I know. Never mind. They're dead. They're a
Yeah.
bit stinky though. I can smell it. So guys, this is where I'll leave you with this week's episode. Just remember to tune in next week because next week's episode is part 2 where we investigate the morgue and the death chute. And we did catch things. So please tune in. Thanks for watching.